I'd like to welcome you to the FOBA Alltech webinar. My name is Jeff Niptash, and I'll be your moderator for today. Our webinar will consist of a 45 to 50-minute presentation, followed by a question and answer session. You are welcome to answer or ask any questions in the chat on the right-hand side, and we will provide answers at the conclusion of the presentation. My guest today is Christian. Hello, Christian. Thank you very much for speaking with us today. And please provide a brief introduction of yourself, and you may begin your presentation when you are ready.
I'm ready. Thank you very much for the introduction, Jeff. So I still keep the camera on until I have finished my introduction. So you all participating at a regulatory update on UDI according to MDR and FDA, hosted by FOBA UDI Laser. Thanks for the huge audience for joining. So question today is what you need to know when it comes to the UDI compliant direct marking of medical devices, instruments and implants. So the target is here at the end that for you it's clear to understand what is technical needed to implement the UDI code on new medical products. It's a listen and learn. This is not a commercial presentation of FOBA. And of course, we have laid time for some question and answers. And I will jump into the presentation, first introducing a short agenda, then about myself, and then I will hand over shortly to Jeff, and he can present himself. I'm here located in Berlin. It's now daytime, 5 p.m. So it's the morning in your area, wherever you are in the US. So just to show shortly what you will see, the agenda, so who will speak to you, the situation, the UDI system, and in the end, of course, the takeaways you can take with you. Shortly about me, I'm doing this global vertical manager for medical technology for 4 years at FOBA. I have sitting on the same side as you do now. I worked for orthopedics at Stryker, for diagnostics and artificial nutrition at Abbott. So both US-based, also Dentsply US-based with dental implants. Brain Lab, which is more cancer treatments by navigation. I keep a very regular intensive network to notified bodies. Why I'm doing this? Because it's only an advantage for you when we provide you a safe, closed process if it's really approved and audited by your notified body. So whatever we do, we have to focus on the final institution giving you the certificate. And also we read together and keep touch with them to understand the same way as all these regulations are written, mainly the MDR, what we mainly talking about today, can be understood in very different ways. I try to clarify this for you in the UDI way. So we are, beside this, solution partner for GS1 and HIBC. I guess most of you know the GTIN, the GS1 128, the code provider, in the end, the authorized code provider for your UDI code. So we are active member of different associations. It's Medical Mountains in Germany, Swissmedic, Switzerland, and in the US. It's this organization for direct part marking. They're really doing the AIM DPM, the minimum size of readable codes, what we will look at later. So together with our sales engineers, I support you in all questions concerning UDI compliant laser marking according MDR and FDA. So for short presentation, I will hand over to you back, Jeff.
All right, thank you, Christian. To introduce myself, as I stated at the beginning, my name is Jeff Niptash. I am the US Midwest Regional Manager for FOBA Alltech. I cover the states of Indiana, Illinois, Kansas, Missouri, and Wisconsin. I, very similar to Christian, have a background in medical device. I've worked for Stryker, Medtronic, Alcon, and Lannett in different roles of the hospital environment, including the operating room. Graduate of Purdue University, and I am happy to support you with all of your UDI compliant laser marking challenges in the US. I will also be assisting with the questions that come through on the presentation, as well as helping to run the chat section. So please feel free to ask questions in that environment as well. Christian, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, Jeff. So I turn off my webcam that you can concentrate on what is really the content about it today. So short introduction, FOBA laser is located north of Germany. We are 250 employees and we're part of the US-based Danaher group. So this gives us also a safe background, even in these times, to be clear and stable, existing also from financially to support you even during this period afterwards, not having financial issues or stuff like this. So we are in this group. We are the laser marking for integration and workstations. And you can see I have a low selection all the way down. FOBA is over 50 years old. And you see some names, C-Fight, Beckman Coulter, Leica Microsystems. Just to mention the C-Fight, maybe you've seen it at CBS 4 weeks ago. They got an urgency approval from the FDA for the COVID-19 test. So that's what our sister company is also in. Like more than 60% are in this business. What you are, but more in vitro bio life science diagnostic, not in implants, instruments, or any related medical areas. And so when the Beckman Coulter, just to mention this helps me and you in the end to take advantage of their knowledge about regulatory affairs, because their regulatory vice president gives us the latest update on any markets, not only on FDA requirements, MDR, NVs in Brazil, the new CFDA in China, the National Medical Product Association, NMPA. So we get the latest update that we are always safe and secure, whatever we do in our laser marking process. So the software, the verification, we'll come to this later, but this is very important for you to know that it's not just a machine coming to your building and you push a button and do anything on it. That was the past, and that was sufficient. Now we have really to be very carefully that you are able and capable to sell your products to the hospital complying to regulations. So this is a huge overview of what we can laser mark. We can laser mark like anything that you want to laser mark, maybe beginning all the way down to the right to the left, right all the way down to the right. You see a wine glass. It's a wine glass manufacturer. Is a lot of automotive parts. You see medical parts, particle screws, cages. So for all this, we have an application, and that's what I also want to focus. In the end, to implement the UDI technically, you have to be able and capable to use your laser marking process. It doesn't help to offer your rocket science, a super laser coming from space, whatever. It's mostly needed to be capable to laser mark it. There are, of course, a lot of other existing accounts like Stryker, of course, Smith & Nephew, Stryker, Synthes, Arthrex, Medtronic, and so on. But those one I'm mentioning here, we have an official contract with them, an NDA. So we also did some science work and some white papers, but I come to this later. So generally, we are not here because of us. We are here because of you. Your situation, you are here in the middle and having, I guess, a lot of questions. So generally, and everybody has a different level about knowledge about UDI, but always important is for me to know what is UDI in general? What is the MDR and FDA meaning? So what do they have in common? What is different here? What do I have already done in the US complying to the FDA and can maybe use or can use to comply to the MDR? So next question all the way down is, how can I continue to market my medical device in the future? Because in the past, it might have been sufficient to have like one drawing somewhere, but the way and the expectation on technical documentation is really growing, and we will help you with this. We also try to shrink whatever we can shrink. We'll come to this later. So any kinds of fixtures, any kind of preparation, any kind of validation, and validation is a huge subject. It takes you hours, days, months, and sources. I know the highest rate of human resources hired is regulatory and quality people, because so many papers to work on it. And next is here, you see the barcode. So UDI, what is it? What is readable? How do I preserve the UDI code? And that's a very important question. It's not about how small can you laser mark. So it should be always seen from the application, from the healthcare practitioner, what is readable. coming to this in this presentation. So the next question is how to create a reliable process. And next is how to technically execute and implement the UDI. And last but not least, we're talking about MDR. And in this way, I must say they copied a little bit from the FDA, but not that bad as in the past. But really, what is the question? What does laser mark impact on your medical device, and what is the technical cleanliness needed to be compliant and to keep patient safety and security? So next slide, it's a lot of information, but this is in the end. We have in the middle an example for a code, for a UDI code, data matrix code, or the AIDC. I'm coming to this later. But in the end, it's showing below what it's in there. It's GS128. And what we can say first, up here, MDR and FDA, they require a unique number for medical products. So the unique device identifier, unique device identification should be a real trace and track. And don't forget, we talk here about MDR, but there are also advantages to have any serial number, any trace and track to check the life cycle of your product, because until now, this is very difficult to measure. The next is the MDR. It's not an MDD. The actual MDD is the Medical Device Directive. The MDR is a regulation. It's not directive, it's mandatory for all EU manufacturers, marketers, everybody selling to Europe. So the FDA is same, it's mandatory for all manufacturers, marketers, there's no difference. So both MDR and FDA require a UDI on medical products and packages. We'll come to this more detail. There's some differences here. MDR and FDA require UDI direct marking for multiple use reusable products. So getting to this more in detail, but generally they have this difference to the US. You have in the US and the FDA, it's very clear: class 3, highest risk class, class 2, medium risk, class 1, low risk. But the MDR took it very serious, so they broke it down, maybe you're aware of it: class 3, 2B, 2A, and 1. And 1, we have 1S for sterilized product, 1R, which is the highest volume, is reusable surgical instruments mainly. And we come into this deeper, but that's why it's very important to mentioning this on reusable products. So MDR and FDA require UDI code in a human readable and machine readable interpretation. So if there's not enough space on the product, FDA accepts just one of the two interpretations. This was until recently. There is a change in MDR, but I will give you this update during the presentation. So to be honest, in my experience, FDA is very practical oriented, although it's an authority. The MDR, I mean, it's a 26 European states, first time to have a really harmonized legislation. You can imagine how the lawyers work on it and how far it is away from practical viewing, practical perspective. Besides this, the FDA sends us sometimes samples to our lab to check the technical feasibility, if there is space enough or readability on a medical product or just on a medical plate. Up here, you see this database sign. So in Europe, it's a UDAMED, a European database, and UDI, you know, it's a GUDI-ed. UDAMED in Europe, we'll come to this later, but it's still not set up. So next is MDR and FDA as the UDI combination. And what is the UDI? I want to clarify this up front. So the DI, the device identifiers, the device itself. So general description, and the UDI PI is the product itself. So it describes individually the product. Coming deeper into this presentation. So MDR, efforts for technical documentation, is higher than for FDA's UDI. So that's why you really need a long period. And as you maybe heard, there were a European Commission suggested to postpone the transition time from the existing MDD to MDR 1 year later. So it should be issued or executed May 26th this year. Will be 1 year later, but it's still not really finally formally approved, although it's saying we don't know how the corrigendum is looking like. Will it be only on documentation on this database? We don't know more, but we didn't hear anything about direct part marking because these deadlines anyway come a little later. So if I continue down here, so you have from MDR and FDA, they have like very similar authorized agencies for the numbers. So GS1 as mentioned, HIPC, I see it dental mostly, ICCB, BA is also a very small portion, not even maybe 1-2%. So FDA is currently running since 2040, started with labeling for class 3 products, and MDR, as just mentioned, coming into force 2021. You don't need to make notes. Anyway, you will get after this a link to the whole presentation, so you can see the recorded presentation again, and we have all the sources, and so it makes it easy for you. Coming to the next slide, the UDI laser marking is part of production process, and I'm saying this repeatedly because it's very important to understand that laser marking for medical product is not just simple labeling of the packaging. Maybe in the past you said, well, I do some etching, that's it. There's a CE mark for Europe, there's a building for the factory, expiry date, it's like a stamp. So the UDI laser marking is part of the production process, production itself, since the UDI code changes the product surface and thus the medical device as a whole. So next question is, why passivation? Why do I have to passivate to prove technical cleanliness after I did laser marking? I know everybody is aware, you only have an implant, endoprothesis, whatever, titanium grade 4 or 5, and surgical retractor and instrument. Of course, you do the passivation in the finishing process. But now you really, with the laser mark, and it doesn't matter which technology of laser you use, you change it. And that's why it's very important you prove and do the passivation to have the patient safety and security. So what's next here? Next here is to see that the passivation requirements, it's not just jumping out of my head and what I see in the market. So this is a result from risk analyzer. So if, for example, we have the implant ISO, the ISO 14630, the 2012 version, in chapter 11.5, it's saying a marking on the product must not impair the safety of the product. So that concludes that a risk assessment shows whether damage to change of the product surface poses a risk that can be minimized. So we always interested, and I experienced myself a CAPA case, and this is nothing anybody expecting or anybody wishes for anybody others, but to minimize risk, that is the purpose in the end. So countermeasure, what's it saying in the following version? So this was version up here 2012. Now it's 2013. The harmonized following version, the harmonized standard, says passivation is a countermeasure here to have safety and security for the whole process, and for, of course, patients' safety and security too. You see there with all the data, the sources mentioned down here. So, but to make it very clear, MDR, you see this European flag, and you see we have a source here where we get this information. We're also collaborating with consultants, with MDR specialized organizations. In this case, it's Regulatory Globe. So when I seen this, it made me clear it's not only tripling the work, but it's at minimum tripling the work you ever had exporting your products from the US to Europe. Because all the way down it says, and the directive, it has 60 pages in the past. It had 60 pages. Now we're talking about 175 pages. You would say, okay, it's more pages, but what does it say? But I think coming from 23 articles, going to 123 articles, this is very complex. And not only to read it, in my experience, and I read it very often with notified bodies, in understanding what does it mean is very differently. So I try to pick out only this UDI direct part marking, but if you clear on one page here, you're safe and you can proceed with the process implementing the UDI laser marking system. So in the end, it says generally in MDR Article 2, label means the written, printed, or graphic information appearing either on the device itself, on the packaging of each unit, or on the packaging of multiple devices. I think this is very clear. So what is the really technical implementation of the UDI in the MDR? So we do have part C, the UDI system. It's more described detail in Article 2, because this is so a lot of articles and brackets, and I put in, sorry for that, the S should be a P, it's page, so it's to find on page 117 or 175. So this is the same, even if you read in French, German, Italian, it's always on the same page in English too. So the definition, so coming back what I shown you at the beginning, what is the AIDC? I guess everybody knows it because this is copy paste from the FDA. Automatic identification, data capture, I just name it in the future here, machine readable and human readable interpretation, HRI. So the HRI is a form in which data of the UDI carrier can be read by humans. 1, 2, 3, ABC, 6, 4, 5, DEF, whatever it is. Next is the UDI carrier. The UDI carrier, machine and human readable, is attached to the label, or, and that's interesting, they're saying or on the product itself as well as on all higher levels of the product packaging. So it says here the shipping containers are not considered a higher packaging level. So you see, it's really very tricky in the end. A lot of people ask me about basic UDI. Is it, do I put it on a group? If I did it once for one forceps, one retractor, one implant, one pacemaker, can I just copy paste? No and yes. So this is really case by case to be seen. And I know that notified bodies don't give you really answers here because they deny to give you any consultancy, but you should really check. We can look at it. I can look at it, what I get from my knowledge, but we're very clear when you start and think of labeling and direct part marking that you do really it compliant and better do it more than less. So in 4.7 in this chapter, it's saying if there are significant problems, and that's a good point, and that wasn't that clear at the beginning, placing both formats, machine readable and human readable, on the label, only the machine readable format should be used on the label. So that's why my recommendation is when you start setting up the process, using, in our case, it's Marcus Designer, and you having the barcode, human readable, or the data matrix code. So I would go for the DMC code because this can be used mostly on all parts. And once you did it for one, you can really just customize it for other sizes, geometric or designs. So focus should be really on the machine readable. There are exceptions. I know the coming people are saying, but my dental implant, how can I put it on it? I mean, I can show you one, we can mark it, but the question is it readable? Not only for us, with you as a verifier, or we with our internal camera in the system integrated, it has to be readable also for the healthcare practitioner, for the nurse, whoever is serving the part to the surgical dental guy. So important is on 4.10 up here, reusable products carry the UDI carrier on the product itself. So the UDI carrier for reusable devices that require cleaning, disinfection, sterilization, and reconditioning between applications on the patient must be permanently applied and must be legible throughout the expected lifetime of the device by any procedure carried out to prepare the device for subsequent use. So this is saying in the end, the whole life cycle, you have to really have a code to be readable. And I hear a lot of rumors and people saying, yeah, I want a wonderful red, black, green. It doesn't matter. This is a functional information. And my experience, when I first time look at what was a retractor, been laser mark, I was impressed while I was saying, wow, it's super black. And then we put it on the camera or integrated camera and an external verifier. And we found out it's just a classification C. I wondered, how can this be? And we did it again. And I thought, well, it's good, but not that black as before. But this was an A. So the difference about human eye and verifier, how he reads it in the end, can be really big distance of evaluation. So really do the verification. And if you decide to go for laser marking system, ours, we do the verification, the post verification, where we have a permanent online result. And you can also in the trace and track, you can just print a button and show the auditor that you always knew Monday morning, Mr. Miller marked at 7:45 this implant in this batch size. So it's a will trace and track and makes your process safe and secure. So last but not least, and under 4.12, the UDI carrier is easily readable, or in case of machine readable, can be scanned through the packaging of the device. It's not necessary to affix the UDI carrier to the packaging. What does it say? If you have a visible packaging, a plastic packaging, and you see inside the part, so there's an exception not need to do the labeling on the packaging. I don't know what is in your case, but I've seen it in several cases. I also see people saying, yes, I could prevent doing this, but I do it both because I want to be safe and secure. Just to see how the UDI code itself looks like when you've seen it before, but I like to take an example. You see the G team at the beginning, global trade item number, you see it below here. So this is GS 128. It's in brackets, it's 0.01 in brackets. So you see below, 3 lines below, 17 in brackets. This is the expiry date. It says 13/02/06. This is the US format saying 2013 February 6. So you have a reference code, batch size, and what I really can strongly recommend, I see more and more manufacturers saying, hey, okay, it will be enforced and will be driven. The authorities will check if I'm really doing compliantly the laser marking, the UDI direct part marking. But to add in a serial number, if technical feasible from space, can be helpful to really count the cycles of reprocessing or autoclaving, to have really a proof how often the instrument has been used, because I know these discussions and saying, hey, your part is not sharp enough, we just use it twice. And so you have to really prove. And I know this is still at the very beginning. We'll say, hey, how will they scan it? But to anyway, you prepared. So this could be a benefit for your customers. And I see some tenders from the Mayo Orthopedic Clinic also adding this into optional requirements, even in this COVID-19 situation. Hospitals very concerned to get back the patients, because you know and you see it in your manufacturing maybe that the demand for whatever, a hip or knee, is the same, but since the rooms or the hospitals are kept free for any COVID patient, so they cannot proceed with their standard with an elective surgery. But this will come back, and so if you have any solution here and supporting your hospital also in the local market to be strong, to give the patients a feeling of safety regarding any bacteria, regarding any biofilm on the product, this is a point to start. And not to forget, use this time, even if you're saying, hey, we don't know how it will be the next 2 months. But the problem is, what I see when we come back to normal surgical treatments, there will be not a lot of time of validation of a new system, because you have to follow up the orders. And that's why it's a great chance, really, don't understand me wrong, but I see the great chance if you start implementing and having a new machine now and having a time for validation. And validation is the biggest portion to get it run. Of course, we support it with IQOQ, with MQ. It helps with the qualification for the validation, but take advantage of this actual time. Really, I strongly recommend this. So what is also important, what I think you see here as an example, our Marcus Designer, you maybe have seen it before, but we have 3 levels, and that's very important to have 3 levels of the software. We have the highest level with the login data. It's the administrator. That's where you define the laser power, the scan speed, the pulse rate. You see it very small right down here in this column. So that's defined by one validated process, and the rights are given to the head of production, quality manager, whoever is responsible. And this level, the designer, you can add a CE mark, you can add a barcode, human readable, UDI code. It's all in the software. And the lowest level, we call it runtime or medical plugin. It's where the operator really simply takes a scanner, scans the patch, puts in the part, puts in the medical product, doors closing of the laser, takes it out. That's it. Even better without fixture, but I come to this later. So in the end, to have these different login levels, it's very easy to have a report on this and seeing that everything is really validated once, and not the operator can change anything because there's a football game he wants to see and wants to speed up the laser. So it makes it very easy, and see in the right column, the tilde1 maybe. They're saying in the marker software, tilde1 enables the GS1 format. So that's something, because we're a solution partner, we invented a long time ago. We're saying it has to be easy for you, not starting, defining, and coding. So it's really like Paint Pro, Paint Shop software, the markers. You just add a tilde1, you know it's a GS1 128, and you can start right away. And I'm repeating down here in the green, the batch number is number 10. You've seen the 17 again, as I mentioned before. So these are just some examples for this here. So coming to the technical implementation of the Class 1R products, I don't know how many, because I cannot talk to you directly because you're such a big group. But just for you to know, what is the update here? They can be sold 4 years longer, complying to the old MDD, Medical Device Directive. So until 2024. So even if it's I don't know if the postponing of the MDR channel will affect this. Even if it would be 2025, 2025 is also the requirement for direct part marking on UDI, but you will see this later in a draft and in an overview. So this does not apply for direct part marking, as just mentioned. So the application to attach the UDI carrier and direct marking is independent of availability of the UDAMED, the European database where you have to put in your technical documentation. This is a very huge summary, and I really like this to have it at one glance. You might say it's a little bit too much, but a law is a law and it has to be clear. So entry into force and date of application. That's written down Article 123. Following Annex 6, Part C. So without prejudice, sorry to wrong spelling this, wrong mentioning this, to the applications on the Commission pursuant on article where, due to circumstances that could not reasonably have been foreseen when drafting the plan referred to in Article UDAMED, is not functionally on May 26, the obligations and requirements that relate to UDAMED shall apply from the date corresponding to 6 months after the article for publication of the notice referred to Article 34, bracket 3. So to make a long story short, in the end, there were no resources planned. There was not clear where to set up, in which country this database. So it will come. It's legally wise approved, but human resources wise and organizational wise, it's not. But it will come. So it doesn't prevent you to be prepared. I know there's this. We have this bottleneck with the notified bodies. Out of the 60 that I know, it was planned to have end of 2019, 20 approved, certified, MDR compliant notified bodies. There were just 10, I guess. That's another bottleneck, but it doesn't. You cannot say, okay, they're not ready, so I won't be ready. Really take this advantage, take this postponement to implement, to start, to make technical documentations, to select your really compliant laser, not maybe an old one that was good for just stamping. It really, you need one with a life certificate, a birth certificate. So the provisions referred to the preceding sentence are for implantable devices and for class 3 devices, shall apply from May 26, 2021. I don't see any change here. So same for class 2A and 2B, will be 2 years later, 2023. And in class 1, it will be 2025. So also to make this easy for you, all expiry dates or all enforcement days, dates are in May regarding the European MDR. And from the US, it's always in September. So coming to this chart, and that's, I think that for me, I wouldn't say it's a Bible, but this medical, this white paper on the left, and you can download it after we send you out a link to the recorded presentation. Just use it. It's very easy, and everything is in how GS1 code is structured. How about cleaning, coming to this later, reprocessing study. So it's all in one glance. So just to make it as an example here, and to make it easy for you. So if you have, starting in the third row, class 3 product, so you go to the second column, it says labels and packages should be executed and be done. The UDI code and the UDI package should be done in September 2014. And then you go 2 columns further, the direct marking complying to FDA should be done in 2016. So this is the one here. If you look at the MDR, you will see the same. You will see, okay, when is it starting here? So the labeling itself starts here in 2021, and direct marking, you have it then in 2023, the direct marking. So that's what you can see here. That's very simple. So the one is for the above line is for FDA, the line below, the second line is for MDR. So 2023, the direct marking has to be finished. And from my experience, and I can strongly recommend to you this, you might say, okay, I can lean back, do other things. If you anyway prepared and have a logistically organization, also on quality management, doing the UDI code direct part marking, already prepared for FDA, why don't you do it for the MDR? I mean, it's really an easier process, and I see really also advantages. And I still very good connected to the hospital network, and they really appreciate to have like the system on it. They might not use it already, but they want to have like a technology where they can show they can have a safety and security for the patient and have an easy process internally in the hospital. So yeah, there's a reading tip we have for you, but you can, as I said, download this from the link we sent afterwards. That's also in this presentation. You see here, it's a machine readable GS1 code. It's the 128, the data matrix code. See again, expiry date. So this is just a repetition. The hospital industry barcode, HIBCs, used less, mainly in the dental industry, as far as I know. So coming to more details here in the MDR requirements for design and manufacture, chapter 2. So 13 times the term cleaning appears. So the cleaning of reusable products relates to applications in the patients and to the entire expected life cycle of the product. So it's very important. That means that this is also necessary to clean the product for the production itself. So cleaning is a very important portion. It came from the FDA, but really watch out and don't say, okay, I did my finishing, I did my passivation on my retractor. After I did this and just laser mark UDI code, why should I do anything else cleaning? You have to prove it. And I put this together here because technical cleanliness of the medical device must be proved. The corrosion resistant must be proven and documented by tests. So if you have no document, you have no test, and the other way around. So the laser contaminates the product. So question is, and that's the right question from one auditor, how is it cleaned? So the MDR is binding for all manufacturers, also with regard to cleanliness. So product traceability and cleanliness must be demonstrated and ensured throughout the entire life cycle. So life cycle doesn't start at a patient side. It starts in production. The safety of the product must be continuously verified, revalidation every 3 years. So what is not defined must be recorded in written documentation. What did we do here? So we did almost 3 years ago passivation of I don't know, remember, was it a forceps? It was just very simple stainless steel part. And we did a passivation complying to the US ASTM 967 water immersion test. After that, we did 500 cycles of autoclaving reprocessing, and we received an A. So classification was A. What did we experience? So after passivation, there was no corrosion. It was also classification A. The conformity of the code was good. That's the reason we received an A classification. And as I said, it's not important to have a wonderful black, wonderful red or green. It has just to be readable and functional. And from the autoclaving cycles, I can say it took very long, I think more than 6 months, because after all autoclaving, it has to be dry out. We had to put it down. We challenged the surface with a pH value of 14, which is really tough to see if really it's like a stress test for the material. And last but not least, the test was redone in January with 40 cycles, receiving the same results. So we can provide you a paper for this when you start with us. This doesn't replace your own test, but it helps you that the manufacturer also tested it and knows there is a really safe and secure validation process. What is else? So there are further norms and standards saying regarding to this cleanliness. I know you clean you do the preservation on implants and instruments and anything you have there. So the ISO 19227, so implants for surgery, is relating to cleanliness of orthopedic implants. The general requirements is this norm refers to other norms, and there's a German engineering association relating to clean room technology, saying purity of medical devices in the manufacturing process. So beside this, and this is still German, but we expect to have it in English soon, there is a cluster in Germany called Medical Mountains, little town with 30,000 inhabitants, but there's 425 medical manufacturers, all size from 20 to 80 people mostly. And they have like they develop a guidance or like a document cleaning about how to clean, and it says clean medical devices, and how to document it. Very helpful. But beside this, there's this ISO 10993-18, so biological evaluation of the medical devices, so parading chemical characterization of materials relevant because the lasers heat input modifies the material. And it doesn't matter which technology you take, if it's low heat, if it's higher heat, if it's medium heat, it doesn't matter. We decided to go because many inquiries are like, do I need for my plastic, my PEEK, my POM, my PPSU, a different laser than for stainless steel, and a different laser as for my titanium? No, we have one medical universal laser. It's a nanosecond laser, it's a short pulse laser. With this, you can really use it at one size fits all. You can use it for all the relevant medical material. There might be some restrictions if it comes to UHMWPE, the white plastic. There's maybe a UV laser more preferred, but just for you to know, this is what we do, and to make you an easy validated process. I guess most of you have seen or have their own or even outsource preservation process. If there are questions about preservation channel, I don't want to go too deep. There are two ways, nitric and citric. If you need it, I can go deeper to it later. But it's the process as we know it. And very important for you to know, we offer the preservation of your instruments after UDI laser marking. So we have special times. I mean, it's all about medical in the end. If we cannot handle it, who can handle it? So we decided very early and came from Danaher to say we have to have like islands in our companies. So R&D is separated, application lab is separated, production separated. So our application lab can do in Wooddale, Chicago in this case, can do the preservation. Well, you need to do the channel preservation, but we can do the preservation of the laser mark part of the UDI code. Why do we offer this? Because my learning is that after laser marking, as soon as possible, you should have to preservate it, because if you put it in storage and wait and do preservation somewhere else, it might affect the marking. So that's why we provide the service in Wooddale, of course, also in Germany in our lab. So just keep it in mind, and we also provide in our labs also a remote application service, but you can clarify this with your local sales engineer or with us directly in the email I provide you at the end. So coming here to a little summary to say what is the similarities on FDA and MDR. So UDI code requirements for structure and size are the same for MDR and FDA. So UDI data have to be transferred into one central database. So for FDA, it's a GUDI-DIT. For Europe, it's a UDAMED. So MDR and FDI required a post-market surveillance. You notice it's very difficult. I don't know how you handle it in the US. In Europe, there are a lot of discussions between hospitals and medical manufacturers, because in the past, if you had a pre-market surveillance, of course, a new product, you could pay them, I don't know, some $100, but now post-market surveillance is very costly. There's no benefit for you as a manufacturer. You might pay them maximum from $50 to $80, and they don't agree. So this is still another subject I cannot clarify here, but just for you to know, this is same for MDR and FDA. What is real difference, and it was a real difference until now, the MDR demands UDI code human readable and machine readable. the FDA accepts one of the two correspondents in case of space problems, and it's the same what MDR does too. In case of space problems, they accept to have a machine readable. That was new, not at the beginning, but mostly they want to have both. As I said, it's a lawyer's work. It came from my side, and I feel like a medical device boy as you are. It came from a pharmaceutical lobby, and they wanted, to have the same regulations as they have to fulfill. So what is more the difference? The MDR sets much higher demands on technical documentation, as you already maybe know from the MDD for medical products. So a question I get very often, does fit for the FDA UDI also mean fit for the MDR UDI? I would say partially yes. The implementation of the UDI laser marking concerning us process transferable from the FDA to MDR. That's why I mentioned to you, just if you set up the process once, you can use it in both situations, FDA and MDR. So just if you have it, just use it. To make it a little bit more interesting, and I mentioned this before, there are two things I think they're very important when you watch at the laser system, because to be honest, it's not focused here about a laser, it's about a really laser marking process that should be safe and secure. So one video, the first one, will show you two hip stems. They look very similar from the length. Surface is a little bit different, but it's a pre-mark inspection, and the camera checks or you will see how the camera checks and prevents scrub in marking the right part and not marking the wrong part. So I'm starting it here. 1 second. So I'm back again. Can you hear me? Now you can hear me? Yeah.
We can hear you, Christian.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for confirming. So you see these two hip parts. You see them lying there without any fixture. Under laser, you see a camera tiling up around, looking for reference points or features. One on the right, one on the left. So these are the defined features in the job, showing or it's expected positioning of the hip stem. So if this is aligned and this is checked in the software, it will say yes, it's a correct part. So it passed the verification, of course. So we put in the other hip stem, which really looks from my eye very similar. And right at the beginning, the camera doesn't find the feature. So it says, no, failed. This is the wrong part. It's too long. That's all about it. This is the correct part. So I hope this is understandable and this is clear. That really makes your process safe and secure, and you always have a trace and track report about this. Now you can see it. If you put both parts together, you see both parts are stacked, and you see one is the bigger one is the smaller one. I have another presentation, and I mentioned to you what is in my eyes very important, that you save really the effort on documentation. The next little movie will show 3 califorceps without fixtures. And it's not just saying, okay, without fixtures, yeah, saves me maybe to build a fixture, saves me also setup time, but the main thing is it saves you documentation. I would say like hell, because European technical documentation is part of the validation. You need to document each and any fixture. With this here on flat parts, of course, not rolling away, you can prevent this. We'll start it. So I'm here again. You see this field at the beginning, we needed 3 fields. We don't need it now anymore. So we will laser mark this califorceps 3 times, always at the same position with the same alignment. We call it IMP, Intelligent Marking Positioning. So you see our colleague Jan from application just puts them in by accident. So it's aligned. It can start to laser mark, and we'll see the middle forceps, one in the middle coming down there. Doors closed. Class 1 laser marking starts, and you see that little light laser marking the first forceps, going to the next. So we do this first time. Now we change it by accident. We don't have any blind way to put it. It's just like baking muffins. I don't know. I don't have a better comparison. We laser mark it again. 1, 2, 3. We put them out. This is Jan in Germany, and you see here it's been laser marked 3 times, always at the same position. That's what it's about. What's it about? So coming back to the presentation, I will go here. Yeah. So very important, and I think you're curious about this. We have to show you some application examples. We did hundreds, millions. So medical is the biggest market, and mainly in the US, of course. So surgical instruments, we put in here quiet zone. We have a in vitro diagnostic plastic container. You see a lot of information on here. You see a tibia plate here, and you see a clamp. So you might wonder why we have this white quiet zone. We decided, the customer requirement was to have this quiet zone to make it very easily readable in the hospital environment, because they won't have this verified as you are using it. They cannot use a simple scanner as they use at wall screens, but they have to have a really easy process as it comes to really usage of the direct part code reading. So of course, we're saying here, yeah, you can request your individual remote session since you cannot come to our lab, but we provide this to you. So corrosion resistance, I mentioned this before. We have a medical white paper for this. You get a link for this. Also, that's all in this link we get after this meeting. So readability about ISO 15415, IAM DPM, and lifetime of the product. So that's described in here. You see the reading tip. And I think this is important, and I like really to show, as you see on the left, a cell code, a data matrix code, not with the GS1 content. On the right-hand side, you see the little tilde one. Is this GS1 content? Question I get very often, what is the required module size? Complying to IAM TPM, it's 0.2 millimeters. What's the font height? Recommended is 1 millimeter for the human readable. So coming to the summary and staying on time on track, yep, not overtaking the time. So laser marking of UDI code is part of the production process. It's not labeling. So because the laser marking alters the surface of the medical product. So the UDI code is like a birth certificate and not just a stamp with the laser like before with etching, whatever. During the technical implementation, pay attention to process safety. So supported by an integrated camera. We have this now 17 years. It's integrated. That means you validate camera and laser at once. It's not 2 systems, 2 hardware systems you have to validate. So that saves you time. And you have to can scrap reduction. So focus on holistic, safe, and compliant, stable process, not on any rocket science. They are not rocket science. It's a laser is a laser. The UDI code must be readable, of course, throughout the entire product life cycle. Software must support a validation process. So have an IQ/OQ and a yearly MQ provided. What we do in this case, so equipment manufacturer must understand the medical technology. As I said at the beginning, when you see this question mark and you in the middle, it's about you. You have to be capable to sell a product to the hospital. You don't need a laser. You really need a safe and secure process. So that's why we're saying we need to participate in this organization, committees, GS1, HIBC, notified bodies, Swiss MedTech, MediaChen, which is a consultant, Medical Mounts, all this on. We have to be sure what we provide you is fully compliant at the end. So this is the journey you go through. You have seen all this. There's the UDI database in the end, or UDI, how you start. It's a software where, because the software drives the hardware, you create the UDI code, you do a pre-inspection with the camera integrated. You have pictureless marking with the mosaic, you do laser mark, which is the shortest part of everything. And of course, we provide corrosion resistant parameters here for preservation. We do a postmark inspection. We put into from the customer database to the database of FDA and MDR. So this is from me now. And I hope this journey doesn't end here. It more starts right now, and you start doing action. And yeah, contact us and do an application, start a process. You might have to change your existing laser, not complying to the requirements. it was sufficient in the past, but the understanding, if I did it right, is that you have to have supported by a really safe, secure process. Thank you from my side.
Christian, thank you so much. I thought that was a fantastic, great educational and informative presentation. And I think one of the underlying themes throughout that is not only was it informative, but you can tell that at FOBA, we truly partner with our customers. We don't just sell systems or machines. We truly partner, and we do the work in the background to stay educated and ahead of the curve. So thank you again. So I do see some questions that are starting to come in, and also as a reminder, please feel free to click on the questions tab on your right-hand side and ask questions. We're here to answer all those for you. I'll go ahead and start with the first question that I see. Let's see. What kind of interfaces are available or possible with ERP systems? So Christian, I can take this one if you'd like.
Sure.
We've got several options, and it's a lot of it is also depending upon what's the appropriate laser source for your particular project. We have capabilities with Ethernet IP, TCP IP, Profinet, EtherCAT, and to come some additional ones as we again try and stay ahead of the curve. So that's the answer to that one. Let's see what else I got. Why purchase a laser system now in 2020 as opposed to 2021 as a manufacturer? I'll start, Christian, and then you can start.
I will add some stuff. Yeah, okay.
I think that a lot of what Christian talked about, it covers that there is, being in medical, there is a lot of regulation and a lot of processes that have to be put in place. This is a great time to make a purchase and to get set up for when some of those elective procedures, those kinds of things, that starts to ramp up and maybe production gets even busier. So I would say that because of the timing, we have a window potentially where it's a very good fit. Christian, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I like to add here. We made the analysis because I think I make at the beginning a mistake. People ask me, okay, if I get an M series from FOBA with a 2-in-1 laser, how long does it take to manufacture and ship? Like, well, maybe 6 to 8 weeks. Oh, it's easy. So I can wait 2 months before I have to fulfill the requirements. I will look now for my CNC machine, whatever. And this was not good to say it like this, because what I experienced, we made an analysis. So an average duration to really start of production of a laser is 40 to 60 weeks. So minimum of 10 weeks. It can be lower, but I experience very often it's a long time. So you would say, why? So first starting, you have to do the application. You have to say the requirements, what should be on the part, has to be shipped, has to be marked. This takes time. Then you do a selection of the vendor. You have to write down technical requirements. So the first part of purchasing a laser is the shortest part. It's maybe not even 1/3. What I experience is then it's delivered, and then it starts the validation. The validation, and we are not in automotive. They have maybe, I wouldn't say 10 different, but not sometimes 10,000 different instruments or implants. So for each and every, of course, you can set up a base job in the software, but you need to validate it. And I mean, we speed it up. You can win, like, I guess 6 to 8 weeks, like saying 2 months with the IQOQ from us. So speeding up this process, having these checklists like a pilot list, what is fine, but it doesn't prevent you to do the validation, because this is supporting your classification, and validation has to be done by yourself. And so I would not wait, because I would focus, even if I do the application, I would select like whatever 1, 2, 3 parts, the blockbuster, not the one you maybe manufacture for your final customer or your hospital every 3 years. And then you have the parameters. Parameters we found out in our lab we can put them already on your machine. And when your machine arrives, you don't have to start to find the right parameter. You can already start validate it. So there are a lot of things where you can shrink down the time, but I strongly recommend to take advantage of this time now, honestly.
Absolutely. Great point. Great point.
Yeah.
Another question that came in, it says, does the ultrasonic cleaning of reusable surgical instruments affect the lifespan and reliability of a laser mark? It definitely can. However, us being part of as seeing the expertise that Christian has in our applications team, we have done a lot of study behind what are the best solutions for ultrasonic cleaning situations. So we have background in that area to maximize lifespan and readability of laser marks. And if there's a particular material that you'd like for us to work with, we're happy to. We, in fact, we are still doing applications all over the world. So we're happy to work with those individuals. Please feel free to reach out to myself, Christian, or our team.
Yeah, I agree, Jeff, because as mentioned in this test with this 500 cycles, we didn't see any, I mean, the classification was stable in A, but there was no change after 30 or 40 cycles. We documented this down because we acquired by our cooperation with Danaher, but really there was no change. But of course, in the end, I strongly recommend to have a very good manual where you really describe it very precise, because you cannot really get control of all subsidiaries in all countries where you parts are reprocessed. Take the example of Australia. I know a lot of German medical manufacturers have issues because of the high pH value of 12. So they say, yeah, it's not readable, the surface is not good, whatever they say, they're complaining. So the better you put this new manual, the more safe you are. That's what I really can strongly recommend here.
Yes, absolutely. All right, we're having some more questions come in. Let's see. So does the location of the UDI not reduce the mechanical properties, and how is that evaluated? So that's a great question. There's different processes that we can use with the laser, different laser sources to create different effects with materials, where we're not necessarily etching. Sometimes we're just annealing or just altering just the top layers of the surface itself. If there's a particular material that you'd like to discuss, again, please get with us. And I always like to say, let's run it through our lab, because every lot of a material or the source, it can change. So we like to empirically prove things out with your specific projects, provide advice from there.
Yeah, if I can add here, Jeff, I really like you mentioning annealing, because I still hear sometimes still very often engraving. We did engraving in the past. Why should we do it? Because it's different now. I mean, annealing is really the lowest violation of the surface. Can I say it like this in English? So it's really, it's still readable, it's still durable, but it's really saving it. And that's why we have this parameter expert. I didn't show it today because I didn't want to make it commercialized, but we have in our market software experience database about material. We did a study with the University of Applied Science, and they really found out the most durable parameter on stainless steel, which is the worst material. It's very easy to find a good parameter for titanium. But as you said, and the geometric surface, the design can be so different. You not just make plug and play. An application doesn't take just like 5 minutes. People think, well, FOBA is experience. I just put a part underneath the laser, mark it, finish, send it back. No, we really take sometimes hours to really find the best parameter, and we do a documentation. We do the verification externally also, so you get a real clear document, even if it's technically not feasible. Some customers use this to show it to the notified bodies. So we really take it serious, and we should do it case by case. That's why we have this lab. We have Patch Ladder with an experience over 30 years. All our application engineers have an experience about, I didn't calculate it correctly, but I think it's 160 years. So you really get the best technical solution.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have time for about one more question, and I do have several more questions to get to. So we'll have one more in this live session, and then we can reach out directly to the individuals that we were unable to get to, make sure that we would get your questions answered. So the last question would be for Christian. Do Class 1 medical devices that are reusable need to have a UDI under FDA regulations currently?
Yes, I can answer this with a clear yes. Main thing is they are reusable, and so this requirement is identical as the MDR requires this. And the deadline for the direct part marking on this reusable Class 1 products for the FDA is September 2022. So it's time to start, to be prepared, and to be because you need to do a lot of testing. Yes, it is required.
Great, thank you. And let's see. I think we're running a little bit quick on time, so I won't answer the few remaining, but we'll go directly to those individuals. So, Christian, anything in closing before we close out the video conference?
From my side, I just wish that you really, and we are medical device people, to really understand, to stay on this track, to prepare early, to really using our knowledge or expertise, and really not focusing on a laser, really focusing on process stability and security. That's what I want to say. I can also turn on back my webcam if you want to.
Sure. And as Christian's doing that, I just want to reiterate that we truly are a partner. You know, we aren't just sell a system and leave. And I think with people like Christian on our staff and the many others that have dedicated years of medical experience, we're here to help. So please let us know. There's Christian.
Yes, can you see me? I cannot see you, but I guess the others can see me. So I brought something to say goodbye. This is, you see a lot of implants on here, what you can laser mark. So we also look at the real cases, and you will see this in our website, and you won't see it here, but this is a dental implant, for example, where we also laser marked upper here. So just remember, it's all about application and a safe process. Then you are compliant, and we are happy to welcome you to our FOBA medical family. Whatever we can serve you, we support you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all very much for joining. This is concluding today's webinar, and please let us know, reach out, and we are happy to help. All right.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.